Welcome to the Shuffle Curious podcast. I'm your host, Patty Lynch. Have you ever seen an amazing shuffler at a show or festival and wondered, how did they get started? How did they develop their skills? And who are they beyond the dance floor? Well, that's exactly what we're exploring in the show. We'll dive into the personal experiences of the dancers that make up our beloved community. We'll be learning more about who they are and what makes this dance so special to them. So, with that, let's jump into the show and let's get curious together. This is episode 25 of the Shuffle Curious podcast, featuring Brogan Carey, a fellow shuffler out of Denver, Colorado. I hope you guys enjoy. Brogan, what's up?
Hello.
How are you today?
Good. It's a beautiful, another 90-degree day in the Denver area.
Well, we're out of the heat, so this shouldn't be too bad. But it's so great having you on the podcast. Thank you for coming on. This has been a long time coming because I know that you were like swamped with school and then you had travels right after you graduated. So I've been trying to get you for the longest time and I finally got you.
I know. Yeah. Thank you for being so understanding and responsive to like when I wasn't able to do this. And then again, when I was ready. So very excited.
Of course. And, you know, the reason why I was so persistent is you came highly recommended to be on the podcast from others. So for that reason, and, you know, just for the reason that I haven't really had the opportunity to be able to like sit down and speak with you like this, were all the reasons why I wanted to have you on. So thank you for doing that. And I feel like our history is really just seeing each other at meetups and you know, hanging out in that regard, but not being able to, you know, have time to just sit down and talk. So the first time I met you had to have been one of my first meetups. I'm pretty sure it was at Cheeseman Park. I think I met you and like you had to leave early or something like that.
Yeah, I think I had work. Yeah. Like at 4 or something, and I was like, I can go for like 2 hours. But then we also, I think, met more like on a personal level at the Boulder CU shuffle workshops.
Yeah, that's right.
I really enjoyed those. Those were really fun. I tried to go to a few of them, and you were always there. So
yeah,
that was really fun.
Those were a lot of fun to organize because like that's when I was first starting to just meet Mile High shufflers in general, and they helped me out a lot. Like shout out to Jameson, like he was always there spinning music for us. JT also, like he would come and hang out and spin music. So, and that's kind of what intrigued me to get into DJing. So like those are very formidable years, I guess, for me. That was when I initially came, and just the support like you coming through as well, and being able to help like this because they were students. The students that were there and coming to like shuffle and flow, like you were an example of, okay, this is how you do this. Like this is how you can look good on the dance floor shuffling. Because like my intent with all of that was to grow like a shuffle community in CU Boulder, which is hard because students are coming and going all the time, and it's like not everyone is there for like a set period of time. So you won't have like those like staples in the community, but
I think it was still a great accomplishment in the sense that you got to bring exposure to Boulder and got to provide that new experience for people that had never gotten to even heard of shuffling before.
That is true.
That's a good pro there.
Yeah. Well, I have one more semester at CU Boulder, and I took this year off. So I will likely be doing those again just for my final semester. It'll kind of be out of the blue because I did take that year off. So I think there's it's the CU Rave Club that does those events, and that's what I was kind of doing it through. They kind of gave me reins to do a shuffle and flow night and to teach the shuffle workshops and things like that, and then have the party afterwards. But yeah, I think I'll be doing that again. So, and hopefully you will be still in Denver and like still here and like can attend as well. That'd be awesome.
I would love to stay in Denver. It's like one of my biggest priorities is staying near here.
Yeah.
It's where my family is. It's where I grew up. It's where all my people are. The mountains are here. Community's here. So yeah, that's like my biggest thing on my job search list is just priority stay in Denver.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where you're at right now, like post school, post travel. It's like, all right, looking for a job and things like that, just to clue the audience in. But with that, enough about See You Rave Club and me and all that stuff. I want to know a little bit more about you. So if you could just tell the audience where you're originally from, which I think we kind of we already touched on that, but you can reiterate it, and how long you've been in Colorado.
Yeah, so I'm actually from Northwest Indiana, like 40 minutes outside of Chicago is where I grew up till I was like 10. And then my family moved us out here, me and my little brother, for a better life because Northwest Indiana is they wanted to like start a new branch of their life and get more opportunity to be outside and do outdoorsy things. And Indiana did not have that.
Got it.
So, and then I've been in Colorado for 13 years and went to like elementary school, middle school, high school here, college here, and have just been going through academia basically my entire life up until this last May, in which I have graduated college, and now I'm just kind of free floating looking for a job. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm from. I love Colorado because like I actually didn't always have an appreciation for Colorado. I feel like when you're a kid and you're forced to be introduced to some environment that wasn't your choice, sometimes you can have a more negative connotation towards that thing.
Resistance to it. Yeah, totally.
That was definitely me. I didn't appreciate the outdoors and hiking and camping probably until late high school. Like it was a minute before I really like understood why they were taking us on so many trips and started to like thank them for it rather than
resent them.
Yeah. So
got it. Well, with that, and I always love to ask the shufflers that come on, just for the audience to get to know you a little bit more, like at your core, how were you as a child? Like, what was your disposition, personality, like just overall?
That is a great. Well, I guess I feel like it depends on at what point you talk about too. Like childhood being very small versus like your preteen years versus your teen years. So I feel like although you're the same person throughout all those years, you're definitely like compilations of new experience onto your previous self, which makes you into an ever-growing person, you know? So
that was beautifully said. Wow.
Yeah, so I feel like as a kid, I can't really speak on that because I wasn't there. I mean, I was there, but like I feel like I have a different perception of who I would like to think I was versus like who I actually was. I know I like to sleep a lot. I know that I very much am like, I respect my parents a lot, and I really want to, like, one of my life dreams is just to like be a successful person for them because they were like the first of their families to go to college. And so I kind of just wanted to like continue that legacy of being able to be successful in those terms and like just kind of like, I'm basically saying like, I feel like I'm a little bit of a people pleaser. I feel like I've always been that way is what I'm trying to get at. And what else? I feel like a fun fact is I used to love watching TV growing up, and now I can't sit still through a Netflix episode, which is interesting.
Kind of flipped on you.
Yeah, right. And I don't know. Is there anything specific?
No.
From childhood?
No.
It's back there.
It's broad. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's broad and it's back there. You haven't been a child in a second, so I get it. But no, I think that's what I got. Yeah, I think you described it. The importance of, you know, maybe your parents' opinion. That's me too. You know what I mean? I did want to do right by my parents and respect them and all that stuff, but you know, you always have like a chip on your shoulder as well when you're a kid too. So, you know, being an all-knowing individual at times. So, but no, that's cool. I think that offers a little insight to the audience as well. But the next question that I have for you is, how long have you been shuffling for?
So I guess to answer your question with a story, I started when I was a kid, going back to the kid thing, I used to do musical theater. And for like 4 years or something in middle school to early high school. And then I played soccer since I was a really little kid, but when you get into high school, you kind of have to pick and choose which thing you want to do. Cause I was also in like rigorous school classes, so I couldn't do theater and soccer and schooling. So then I did soccer and did that throughout high school. And then I discovered EDM, and this will make sense. Then I discovered EDM in 2019 from like one of my friends who was like, do you want to go to a rave? And I was like, sure. Like, why not? I'm not doing anything. And then I fell in love with dubstep. And dubstep, like just honestly harder music in general, rhythm and all of the alike. I was really into that when I first started, and then didn't even think about shuffling or like know what it even was until I went to Lollapalooza 2019 and I saw someone shuffling and I thought that was really cool. Like I just straight up, I just was like, I was with one other friend at the time and she remembers me telling this to her because I talked to her like a year ago or so. And I apparently pointed out how I really liked that girl's dancing and I wanted to learn how to do that. And
whatever that was,
I didn't know. And then kind of 6 months went by and then the shuffling kind of appeared on TikTok as like a trending subject or, you know, one of the trending things and people were doing the little dances. And that gave me an opportunity to kind of integrate my past knowledge of like musical theater and like you do a little bit of moving in musical theater. Like there's choreographs and there's foot movements and hand movements. And then soccer, I got to integrate I really like to juggle. Yeah, like juggle soccer balls and stuff when I was playing soccer. So I think that really helped with like my ability to control my feet. And this just kind of led to like an ability to adapt to the shuffling mindset relatively easily because I was already pretty like adept with my feet. And it kind of made the transition easier. Felt like less of a mountain to tackle.
Yeah.
But not saying that I was a pro right off the bat because I definitely like struggled. Like I didn't learn the Running Man till like 6 months or a year into when I shuffled like the Melbourne Running Man because I was just struggling with that one. Oh my gosh. And but then I started shuffling in 2020 in late February is when I have my first little video of me like in my dorm room because that's where I used to dance. And that's funny because my suite mate used to like knock on our door sometimes and be like, what are you doing in here? Like, it sounds like you're jumping around in here. It would just be me like standing there and being like, nothing. Like,
yeah.
So it's so funny.
Move along.
Move along, yep. So that's kind of how I started in the dorm rooms in college, right before COVID hit. And then COVID hit. Then it kind of became my quarantine activity.
Focus.
Because there was no school. There was no knowledge of what the future was going to be like. We all just knew we were kind of just like waiting it out in a way. So definitely and I didn't even take the opportunity. I feel like it's just something that I kept wanting to go back to keep developing my skills and keep like building off of what I already knew. So it was just perfect timing with COVID that I had the time that allowed me to like really dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people share that sentiment, me being one, you know what I mean? Having that time to really just snap in and tap into the dance and to really kind of follow it down the rabbit hole because time wasn't of the essence. You had so much of it to be able to apply to the dance. So it was, I think it was a good time for, you know, just dancing development for those who found the dance at that time. Yeah. So you've been dancing for a little over 3 years. Just about.
Wow.
I do. Yeah, of course. I have a video that you'd sent me that you're, the requirement or the criteria was something that you were particularly proud of for any reason. So I'm just going to pull this up and also throw it on. Oh wait, this is we're starting from the wrong spot. So obviously you're in Las Vegas when you hit this, or that's not super obvious, but
yeah, in front of what is that place called?
It's some kind of hotel.
Tiny America or something.
Yeah,
that's not what it is,
but like I see a bunch of shapes, of course. But then you went to like a T-step rock, and you know, many Polly Pockets involved.
Yes.
So you're very much your principal style, I would say, is probably shapes. I venture to say that, but as you mentioned, like you started doing like a Melbourne type Running Man, like not later on in your journey, like 6 months isn't that far out.
It was just very intimidating to start because I couldn't get my foot to stay flat because I'd been so used to doing Polly Pockets and spin. I couldn't, it was like not even the flatness, it was like, it felt like there was too much friction. I think my weight was distributed wrong between because like, you know, if you like were to do the Running Man and then you were to like pull up your front foot, the front foot would be like stuck.
Yeah.
Like it was like rough case of that.
Got it. And like all that, it's just like fine motor skills to like just correct that a little bit, and then things slide a little bit better, and then like adjusting the rest of your body. So, but eventually you got it. You know what I mean? You got it, and like you integrate that into your flow as well. Even though you're primarily shaping, it's like you will detach from that, you know, and start rocking back and forth, doing a Running Man, oscillating, things like that. So you're very technically proficient in your dancing, and I can see the parallels with soccer and with some of the musical theater that you've done, because it seems like you're kind of like a natural at it.
Thanks.
No, of course, and we can kind of jump into that, and you can kind of tell me if that was true for, you know, if things were coming easy throughout the learning curve and things of that nature. So, but I guess I want to you hinted at it a little bit. The lead up into shuffling and kind of the things that you were doing. What was life before shuffling? You know what I mean? Like you said that you were getting into like dubstep. It wasn't until like you saw a shuffler like at Lollapalooza that you became a little bit more interested in picking this up. Were there any other influences, or was there anything else during that lead up that really inspired you to jump into shuffling?
So honestly, I feel like the transition was pretty smooth in the sense of like, once I saw someone post, I think it was the very basic something, it was like Friendships is a song, I'm pretty sure. And it's Pascal. Yeah. I was going to say Pascal, but I was like, I don't know what the rest of it is. And, like it was just the Running Man, like done in place. It was like the Polly Pocket Running Man where you just have like straight legs in that. Like I was like challenge accepted. Yeah. Like, I feel like I can do that. And then kind of just escalated from there. But before then, I feel like my knowledge so I started this whole EDM world in 2019, which there's a lot of EDM content to look through when you're first starting to discover, because like I didn't listen to any EDM like basically before I started going to shows. Like I was into a lot of like rap and alternative and like more mainstream in that way. And it took me a while to like figure out which part of EDM I liked, because at first it was like I was just into these really smart artists, and you look at that artist, then you hit radio, and then you look through those artists, and it was just a very long process of like even discovering what was out there music-wise. Went to Lollapalooza, went to a few Red Rock shows between May of 2019 and 2020. And then, so I was like pretty new into like the whole EDM scene in general at this point. I feel like it was all information overload and exposure at every point, because like, even if there wasn't anything shuffling related that came up on my feed or that I saw at shows, because I went to primarily dubstep shows. You don't really see a lot of shuffling at dubstep shows. And so, yeah, I just feel like it was pretty natural in that way. And yeah, I'm really glad that it was exposed to me, because yeah, it led to a whole world of opportunity and so many great memories and so many great new parts of my life that I just didn't know existed.
Yeah.
So
doors opened. What was Lollapalooza 2019?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So what would you say, like, that's the festival that you pay homage to for the exposure to shuffling?
Yeah, I would say so. Because that was like that was my first festival ever, and it was like not even a camping festival. It was just like me and my girlfriend post college or post high school wanted to go on a trip together, and that was just like what we decided to do.
Got it.
And what was your question again?
No, I'm just asking like what the lead up was to it, and that if Lollapalooza was that festival where it's like that it flipped in your head that this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Or you wanted to embark on like a shuffle journey.
Right. I would say for shuffling, yes. That's like the first insight that I had, or like foresight, or, some sign or whatever.
Yeah. Foreshadowing.
Yeah. Exactly. And, but since then I've been to many like a few, not many, but like a good 5 to 10 festivals in the last 3 years. And I feel like everyone has had its own moment with interaction with shuffling, or had some sort of component of adding onto my repertoire of like all my experiences and how much I love like this community and whatnot. So yeah, that was probably the first one though. And then trying to think of the first time, a lot of the festivals that I've been to in general, I feel like have been very more heavily focused, because I'm trying to think, I went to like Dance Festopia. That's like a pretty heavy one. Like they don't have a lot of house. They didn't have a lot of house when I went, the year I went.
Yeah.
I've also been to Global a couple times. EDC was like a pretty big one. We had a group of 11 people, and they wanted to stay like in the dubstep area.
Yeah, bass pod.
Bass pod. So we were there for that one. Bass Canyon was another one. I did get to go see Stumpy at Bass Canyon. I was like separated from my group. I was like, guys, because I'm usually like the group leader mom person that like, keeps everyone in check. And so I'm usually like doing that. But I took this one for myself at Bass Canyon. I was like, I want to go to this set. Like I've heard of Stumpy's like Woolie's debut as Stumpy. So I really wanted to like hit that. And I knew there were some other shufflers that were going to be there. And
that's when you were grooving. You were grooving with Mario. Is that the set? Yeah. Yes, I love that video, because I was like, this is Bass Canyon.
Also, yes, that was. I saw Mario there. I saw another girl, Hannah. Her at's Hannah Raves, and then I saw a Sunflower Raver, Shara, and that was just such a great festival. That's probably my favorite festival for me ever. Thus far, just because the setup was perfect. We had a perfect amount of people, and everything just went perfectly. The sets were amazing. The venue was my first time at the Gorge.
Yeah.
So it just worked out so well. And there's just a festival when everything just goes perfectly to plan. I don't know if this happens to everyone, but that was like the one, because every other festival there's like some
hiccup
craziness that happens, right? And that was just like cherry on top of my festival experiences so far. So I'm really glad I got to shuffle in that there. And then as for Red Rock shows, I've been to so many Red Rock shows. Like there's a period when we would go like once or twice a month, just like the entire season we would be at Red Rocks. And I think Red Rocks is like, not to lead on another tangent, but Red Rocks is like I love Red Rocks so much. It's just like another home. Like it's just when you arrive, you feel like
there's an oh shit moment. Yeah, there's like oh man, I get to be here and do this, with Denver out in the distance, and like you're just kind of in nature, but like there's the acoustics, with whatever opener is playing when you walk in, you're like,
the bass is going so loud.
Yeah.
It's already so loud, how can it get louder?
Yeah.
And then it does, and then and it's just like has a hint of familiarity, just like with all the shows that I've been to, and then I go back in, and it's like a fresh slate for another show, a new night of experiences. So just to add on to your little memory bank of experiences that you already have. So it's pretty fun.
Awesome. Well, you've definitely been, pretty active in going to shows, festivals, just all things where shufflers or just music enthusiasts are there. So you're very very nested in those communities. But I want to backpedal just like a little bit, and because we were talking about like the lead up into actually shuffling and actually doing the thing. So after Lollapalooza 2019, what was you said that you posted your first video in February
Yep.
February of 2020?
2019 is what I looked.
2019 or 2020?
2020.
2020.
That's what I meant to say. Yep.
Got it. So what was the lead up to that? What was the day that you got up or you looked up that tutorial or you tried to perform your first shapes movement or your Running Man, your T-step, all these other things? Like when did that come to fruition?
Thinking back at the time, I was in my second semester of my first year of college, and I went to Mines. So it was a lot of schoolwork and not a lot of time for things to do in your free time. So knowing that, I definitely remembered I must have made time to do this because it's not like we don't just have a bunch of time on our hands. Like that school is ridiculous. And
engineering, right? You went for engineering? Yeah, that's going to be a lot.
It was really obnoxious. And so I didn't have it was a lot of I had to prioritize a lot of my life and figure out what I actually wanted to do. Like soccer, I didn't get to play as much soccer in college just because academics were so much and because concert going kind of took over. But then I definitely know I was very driven to kind of pick up the skill and keep returning to it because it was not the most convenient of circumstances to be dancing and trying something new in a dorm room. We were on the fourth floor. The rooms are pretty tiny. I had to move everything to the side to make room for me to dance because at an engineering school, it's mostly guys. And also it just kind of has some sort of component of high school where you feel it's a very small school. Yeah. It's 4,000 kids. So it's kind of everyone knows everyone kind of mentality and still kind of those high school ties of you want, it was people knew each other pretty well at that school and held each other up to a certain standard of just
the social ties were closer than if it were a larger school where it's just
where you didn't know, you saw new people every day. You saw the same people every day.
Got it.
So it was very much I didn't want to really be doing this in front of people that I knew, I was just starting to know because it was my first year there and I was all insecure and now I go there and I shuffle on campus because I don't care. But when I was first starting out, I definitely was more shy in the sense of I don't want people to know what I'm doing. But
you're learning
I
a new
posted online,
skill.
right? But I would my online postings would be my little scrapbook of memories. That's what I thought of it as originally, is just little progress videos of kind of how I was doing. I never had an intention of ever gaining traction or going viral was never one of my goals because it just wasn't in my books at all. I was just doing this just for fun. And so that was kind of leading up to it. I definitely know that I had to I really prioritized learning this for some reason. I don't know. Something just kept drawing me back to it. And I just kind of made the most of it in my little dorm room. And then COVID kind of I went back to my parents' house for COVID and they had more space in their house for me to kind of dance and practice. So that helped a lot too with starting to begin my shuffle journey.
How did that, kind of unravel? Was it dedicated practice every single day? Or, did you feel if you didn't dance on a day that something was wrong? You know what I mean? Did you become obsessed to the point where it was so habitual that it felt weird not to do it and not to jump in for a day? And then also what kind of struggles kind of came during that time? Did it come pretty natural, or were there things that you needed to grasp over time?
So to answer the first part of that question, it was something that I was able to do. I probably shuffled twice, just tried singular moves or very easy combos. I already knew the Charleston before shuffling, so that kind of, I don't know why I knew that, but I just knew how to do it. And I wasn't able to do it all the time. I think I did 2 shuffle videos in February and then didn't record another one until April. so like there was like a really big gap in there of like me even being able to do this. The COVID transition was crazy because no one knew what was going on. And then also I had to move out of my dorm room. Also I had to move back to my parents' house. There was a whole, school was still going on. It was all online. That was just kind of crazy. So definitely was on and off at the beginning. And then there were periods of time, I think in the first year, there were periods of time when I wouldn't shuffle for like, there was a 2-3 month period when I just like didn't dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think it was as big of a deal because I just like, I think at that point I didn't, like it was still for me. Like it wasn't like I didn't have any sort of like pressure or tension to like be posting X amount or anything because I wasn't like really into the social media scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say about a year later after I started, so in 2021, I moved to Salt Lake and we moved to Puerto Rico for a month and then we went to Salt Lake for 3 months and me and my boyfriend. And this is when I really had time to invest in my skills and I had like a newfound drive to like practice shuffling again. Because I think school was really took a toll on like my mental health and I just like was so consumed with how I was performing and how I needed to do all this work that when I was in school in the fall of 2020 that I just had to like reset. So we did online courses for that semester. And I think that really helped me kind of like get back to my roots and realize like what my priorities were, what I was passionate about versus what I like had to do because it was so time consuming for like my degree.
You weren't in the trenches anymore. Like you had a time where you could step back and like look at the bigger picture.
And we were kind of forced to in a way because like in Puerto Rico, it's not America. And it's very much like we were very in the moment in Puerto Rico and it was very nice. And I think that kind of like I got up every morning. That's when the grind kind of started was in Puerto Rico. I would get up every morning like before the sun would like start rising over the trees. Mm-hmm. And I would like go outside because we had this really nice patio at our Airbnb that would like overlook the ocean. And I would just like dance out there like first thing in the morning. And every morning I did that for like a month. And then we moved to Salt Lake. And then I got a gym membership to this gym called Excel. And they had a really nice dance studio in which I would also every day like take myself there and dance and improve and like work on myself. Mm-hmm. And that's when I think about a year ago or not, a year after I started shuffling is when I started gaining more traction on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I think I had like my first viral video, quote unquote, in the fall of 2021. So this kind of led to like a new precedence for me because I didn't expect it nor was trying to do this. And it just kind of like happened. I feel like it kind of happened without guidance. Like I just kind of like was fed into the concept of social media and performing well and the numbers and like gaining more followers. Cause it's kind of like can be a poisonous environment. Like if you get too caught onto those things.
If you're not ready for it too, and it's just kind of like in front of your face and you haven't like, I guess, established a game plan as to how you're going to protect yourself from like the issues that come with it. Not just like the good things that might come from it as well. Yeah. So was it a specific video that you posted that then you saw did really well and then you started gaining like a followership? Because right now you have a solid followership on Instagram and like you do a lot of these things such as like tutorials and the video that we saw, like it's very well done. You know what I mean? Like you put effort and time into this for sure. So like when did that really start and take off for you?
Yeah, I would say that started like probably around, like I was saying, kind of the fall of 2021. That's when I think I got like, I remember it was I got like 10K followers in, I think that like early that fall, I want to say. But this was just like kind of a reality check of what of like everything else that kind of came on at that time. Cause there's a lot that goes into like, I guess speaking to the second question that you had earlier, which is like trials and tribulations, kind of what I went through, like where was my rough patch in shuffling. And I think it was really developing like a healthy relationship with social media, because there's a lot that goes on that we don't realize that we're like making comparisons with, and like think we're missing out on a lot of things if we're not on it. Like there's a lot of like backlash that can kind of come from being on social media so often. So I feel like there was this like arbitrary societal pressure on me to like keep posting and like keep performing to this arbitrary standard that doesn't even exist, and that I would like define in my own terms. And I think I was being like really hard on myself. It would cause me to like, and I kind of want to go into also like the concepts of like, because there's like 4 concepts that I like to think about when I'm thinking about like the downfalls of social media. But before I get to that, I probably wasn't saying.
It's all good.
I was like, there's like, I feel like on the pro side, I'm sorry, the pro side, I feel like I've taken all of the like love that I've gotten through my social media page as like a privilege. I feel like it's a gift, and it's something that you can use as a platform to like spread a specific message or some sort of mantra that you want to share with the world that's kind of like your thing, like your label, your brand. And this kind of really excites me to have like the amount of followers that I do, which is not like a lot, but it's like enough to where I feel like I'm making an impact on people all around the world. And like, whether it's just like a small quote that's like encouraging them to have a good day or to be kind, or sharing my experience on like why today wasn't a good day or something, and that we all have bad days. I feel like it's a way to like connect with other people and share with them that people like me are just like regular people that go through the exact same shit as everyone, because we're all going through the same shit here.
It's like it's the antidote for like the highlight reel type thing. You know what I mean? You want to come with a different approach, saying like, no, this isn't my highlight reel. This is everything.
Yes. So I 100% agree with that. For the like, that's one of the 4 concepts that I like think about when I'm trying to have a healthy relationship with social media, the highlight reel, because it's like where people basically post the best sides of them, and then people have an inclination to think that that's how they are all the time. And so there's like definitely something to be said about like taking everything with a grain of salt and seeing what people post on social media as like taking it more as inspiration for yourself, and kind of seeing what about their post that you could like, that you could kind of adopt, or like that you want to incorporate into your social media or whatever, rather than see it as competition. Because I feel like we're all just trying to help ourselves in that, help each other in that way, rather than like put ourselves above other people. Because I feel like that's a healthier way to go about it. And another concept is called social currency, which is kind of similar, but in the sense of like, whenever you get X amount of likes, comparing that X amount of likes to the other person who posted something similar and got Y amount of likes.
Yeah.
And kind of comparing yourself in the way of like that there's like hierarchy, but there's not, because like the algorithm is just so whack that like we're all at the mercy of the algorithm in a way.
Yeah.
So I feel like instead of like with social currency, instead of like ranking yourself comparatively to other people, you should just look at what you have and take all those like, take all the likes and all the comments that you get as like a person behind that screen saying those things to you and like actually supporting you and like feeling valid based off what you have versus comparing what you have to other people. If that makes sense.
No, it does. And I just want to chime in on that as well. Like, yeah, I think that seeing you posted a similar video and then seeing someone with another similar video, and then and then racking and stacking, the results of each, and then like drawing that like harsh comparison, because like that probably makes you believe that, okay, we have these similar videos, maybe we have the same followership, all these things. So, but that person got more likes than me, or that person got more comments than me. So they're both similar though. So the results should have been the same.
Right.
So intrinsically there might be something wrong with me. You know what I mean? Like I am just not the personality, or I don't have the looks, or I don't, whatever, you know what I mean? And I think that can really get into your head and then start that like toxic downfall, down spiral. That
just trying to improve yourself based off of, basically improving yourself based off of like arbitrary concepts that you're making up in your head as you're watching someone else.
Yeah. Or you know what I mean? The algorithm just didn't treat you well that day, but like you're now internalizing it for other reasons, like not just the coding. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I feel like this isn't an answer to one of your questions later, but I've been reading a book called The Untethered Soul, and it just talks about how you're supposed to how a way to become more free and more content with your present is just like letting things go through you rather than internalizing them, like you just said. So I feel like definitely just acknowledging whatever thought you have is valid, and then kind of just being able to let it out, like let it move through you and let it not affect how the rest of your day is going to go.
Yeah.
Because it's at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. Like just like all the numbers and all of the trajectories that our accounts have just like are just out there.
Mm-hmm. Or the rest of your week or the rest of the month. You know what I mean? Because if you are internalizing these things, sometimes like internalizing beliefs, like then it becomes you. You know what I mean? Like it's a part of you, and those are the things that, and then they turn into like traumas that like continue to dictate your behavior in a way that doesn't serve you. So like that could be something that someone deals with for the rest of their career. Or however you want to describe like a shuffle journey where you're there's some kind of, I guess, expectation of you, whether you're applying it or other people are applying it, to post videos and to do these things on Instagram, especially when it's dance related, such as shuffling.
Yep. And they're not even, and some people don't even realize, because I mean, like obviously, if you're able to recognize it, that helps you move forward in addressing it and overcoming it, but some people don't even realize that they're doing it, which is pretty great. Because like I didn't realize I was doing it for the longest time until I actually, in one of my classes at Mines, had us like watch, I'm trying to remember what class it was, but they had us watch this video. It's a TED Talk, and it's talks about like these 4 concepts. And then that was kind of when I made the aha moment of like, oh, like I literally am doing all of these things. Like this is why I probably feel so drained from social media and wanting to be active and wanting to make authentic content, like it's just it's crazy. But then the other, really quickly, the other 2 like factors that I was
what do we have right now? So we have social currency.
Social currency, the highlight reel. And then the third one is FOMO, which is like fear of missing out.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like something that we have to remember when addressing the fear of missing out is just like life again social media is again like the highlight reel of a lot of people's lives. And you have to remember that most of life happens off the screen, and there's not like, you can't get that time back that you spend on social media in real life, because you're using you're using time, like time is time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not ever going to be able to get back the moments that you spend on your phone in real life. And that's like, there's definitely a healthy balance that is possible between social media and like living a life. It's just a matter of like recognizing what the boundaries are of like your mindset and not letting the social currency of everyone else's like this made up concept like overwhelm you. Then the fourth one was addiction, which is like a compilation of all of them just doing the same, just like having the habit of being on your phone for a very long time and not having this healthy attitude, I feel like those are the four things. But so basically I feel like through those things, like through those four concepts, I've been able to have like a lot healthier of a relationship with social media. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up during this is that I'm gonna look it up because I wrote it down pretty nicely in my notes.
No, do the thing.
I said, it's, oh my gosh. So basically I feel like it's really important to recognize when you're floating away from why you started shuffling, because like the why you started is the most genuine way that you express your like love for shuffling.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I get like really caught up in like everything, or like if I'm debating, should I post this? Like, is this even worth a post? Like, are people even gonna like this? Does this even make sense? I just post it because it's like my page at the end of the day. Like if I feel like it's valid in my terms and makes me feel more complete and more content as a person that I'm trying to like make my brand online, then I'm gonna post it because it's like authentic to me. That's all that should matter.
Yeah.
Is like if you're personally attached to it and if it means enough to you.
Yeah, you're not like trying to reverse engineer your post based off of the lens that your audience might be viewing it, or like the harshest critics within your audience. You know what I mean? Right. Like, are they gonna like it? Like,
literally.
Yeah. So that's one way that you've kind of established like a healthy boundary, so to speak, with social media. Are there any others that you kind of keep in mind as you go about just interacting with social media?
Yeah, I feel like, not gonna lie, I have had to take breaks from scrolling, if that makes sense. Like, I just won't look at, because when I pull up my feed, it's like shuffle post after shuffle post. Like, when I made my little stomps page, it was originally, I wasn't gonna follow anyone from like my personal life, like from high school. I just wanted to be purely EDM related and like only things that are like what I enjoy in this realm.
Compartmentalize it into that interest.
Exactly. And so now my feed is just all like flow art, shuffling, hooping, which I love. But sometimes it gets a little overwhelming in the sense of like, and it's such a toxic mindset because I get a little overwhelmed with like, oh, this is like what my competition is. Like I have to perform at X level in order to be considered even one of these shuffle persons.
Yeah.
But definitely it's like, you have to like remove yourself from that expectation and just have like, kind of go back to what I was saying earlier, go back to your roots and really ask yourself like, why did I start doing this in the first place? And then also that's why I kind of take the breaks, is because like if I find myself like in that mindset of like, and it's not even how it works, because there's an infinite amount of likes to be given on this earth to all the content creators out there. Like, why am I envisioning it as if it's like a
finite
shared
there's a stockpile and like that's all there is, like to hot commodity, like
the possibilities are endless. And I feel like the only thing that really prevents you from like being your true self and seeing your full potential is yourself, in the sense that like you're going to limit yourself based on this box, that whether that be trends or what other people usually do or like what's been the latest. And yeah, that's why I try to do like whatever comes to my mind. Like, for example, the other day, the Cupid Shuffle like came to my mind. I heard it somewhere. And then I was like, I'm going to dance to this because I want to. Like, it's not like really house music, and it's not really like there's already a dance made to it, but I was already like, why not do this? Because it's like a good beat. I like the beat in my head. Like, I feel like I could move to this. So I did. And it's like, it's nothing more than that. It's just, that's plain and simple how I feel like a more healthy mindset towards framing your shuffle journey, or like just your content creation should be. Because shuffle journey can be like completely separate from, like, I'm not one person to be like, you have to record your shuffle journey. That's just what I like to do. But I'm not saying that everyone else has to do it, because like, just because it didn't happen on screen doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's still just as valid. And I've met some of the best shufflers I've ever met have been at shows. And I'm like, what's your Instagram? Like, I'd love to connect. And they don't have one.
Yep.
Like, they aren't even. I'm like, that is amazing for you. Like, I'm so jealous, because I feel like that would be a great point to be at, to just not even be involved at all. But also, I feel like there's so many pros. Like, we get to meet all these people, you get to be inspired, you get new ideas, and you get to like support people that might need the support through your posts, you know?
Yeah. That's
so I think
true.
that's just, I feel like the pros outweigh the cons for me personally. So.
But everyone needs to make that self-assessment for themselves. Like, maybe there are some people, and I think I have a hard time with this, establishing healthy boundaries with Instagram. It's like, now I've got 2 pages, like one for the podcast, one for, me personally. And it's like, now I feel double obligated to be on there and engaging, and especially with the podcast at this time, because I do think it is valuable for people to listen and to be exposed for it. So like, I do have a game plan. You have a game plan. I feel like that's a little bit separate from like just willy-nilly, just kind of throwing yourself. Like, you have a goal, and that's like, you can use social media as such a great tool to accomplish that goal. This is true. This is very true. But I do catch myself. I do catch myself scrolling. I do catch and sometimes the scrolling is with intent and mindfulness. Like, okay, I'm going to find some like fire shuffle runs right now, or flow artists or DJs that are killing it, and just let them know, you know what I mean? Let them know, spread the good vibes. But then it's like, sometimes I forget that I'm doing that, and then I go off on tangents, and it's like, now I'm just doom scrolling. Like, there's no intention behind this. So it's like,
so easy.
Yeah. Well, it's you become wired to just like seek the instant gratification and to follow different rabbit holes because of how quickly the information and the dopamine hits are hitting. You know what I mean?
How short the videos are.
Yep. And it's
hooks. Yep.
It primes you and it conditions you to have a shorter time frame of your working memory, essentially, like task oriented memory that you use to get done a task. It starts to fade. You know what I mean? And I'm a psychology major, so like,
really?
I have a little bit of understanding of how it all works, but I still fall victim to it. You know what I mean? Like, just the knowledge of knowing how it works and how your brain chemistry is changing doesn't preclude you from like falling victim to it. Yeah. So it's all very interesting, and that's why I like right now, I really appreciate what you're saying and what you're throwing out there. Just number one, sharing your experience around it, and then the vulnerability of just saying it and having people know like what you've kind of gone through, and like what you've needed to rewire with yourself so that you can have a better experience. Because I think a lot of people go through this, and exhibit number one, exhibit A, like right here. So I think it's a lot of really great information for the audience and myself, and a reminder for myself to do a little bit better job, with all this, to mitigate the cons of all this. But as you're also saying, there's a lot of pros that come with it as well. So do you have anything else, regarding this, your journey? You gave us like a lot of really good points with the highlight reel, social currency, FOMO, and just like the addiction part of it. Is there been anything else that you've done to mitigate the issues with social media?
Yeah, I feel like that's basically kind of what my mindset is just being aware that these quote unquote traps can be, or just dual use, I feel like is a better way of putting it. Just knowing that there's always a backhand to every situation. Definitely kind of helps keep me in check of like, what to look for when I'm kind of drifting away from like what I feel like is the most my genuine self. And just the fact that, yeah, I feel like, I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
If there isn't, that's so cool.
There was something I was going to say, but if it comes back to me, I'll touch on it.
Got it. Well, no, like I said, I want to reiterate, like, thank you for putting that out there. Like, you almost kind of gave like a how-to, you know what I mean? Like a guide, based off of, you know, your anecdotes and what you've kind of gone through, as you've gained a followership and, have recognized that it needs to be handled with care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you. I hope someone finds it helpful.
Yeah. Well, you got one right here. So, cool. But so, you know, moving forward, like you started learning, you know, you did the thing, you started to become much more proficient, especially during that time in Puerto Rico. And then you went to, Salt Lake City, Utah. Yeah. Salt Lake City. And refining your craft, then you kind of blew up. And now like there's been like, a journey that you've been on after that, and the social media thing has been a part of it. Where are you now? Like, what are kind of like your goals, aspirations with the dance, with your social media presence, all things? Like, what do you want to get out of all of this, and like what's just your future plans in general?
Yeah, I have a few goals in mind, just for like, not SMART goals, but just very vague goals, which I will eventually come up with a better game plan to tackle. But as of right now, probably for the last year or two, I've just been like dancing in my free time. I like to choreograph a lot. I like to like think through a dance and like think about like what would be like, what would I think would look cool, like in this moment, to that pause, to that snap, to whatever. How can I make it like the most like sauciest or sassiest or whatever? Like, I really enjoyed that component of shuffle dancing. And so that's what I've kind of been doing for the last couple years, 2 years. And the next phase of my life is going to consist of getting a job and settling down in a house, like, or a place, renting a place, getting out of my parents' place right now, and getting a routine as well. Because right now I'm so out of whack that I'm just so disoriented. Because once I get a routine down and I kind of get my life going in a routine again, I'm going to definitely incorporate shuffle dancing more. Like, I want to push myself in the sense of like, I want to work on feeling the music and freestyling more. Because that's like an area where I feel like I'm very vulnerable, and I would like to have a more, like, it would take more, another round of discipline. Like, I feel like I've already gotten down making choreos. I've gotten it down, can make a choreo in an hour to any whatever 30-second bit. But I would like to just whip it out, just like start dancing and just dance. I'm excited because I think as the fall rolls around, I think the weather's going to help us a little bit in that respect. It's just been too hot in the daytime. And then by the time nighttime rolls out, it's too dark. And I like don't have a gym membership right now. I like to dance in gyms. I do get a little insecure sometimes. I feel like people are watching me. They're like, what is she doing? Like, but I feel like definitely doing it over and over again has helped a lot in that aspect. I haven't really found myself freestyling a lot in like public settings. So I feel like getting kind of more confidence in that avenue is something that's on my to-do list. And then as well as I really like to put more like thought into my instructions of like, I've had people reach out to me recently and been like, do you have more tutorials? Or I'd really like to learn this move that you did in your last video. Or can I find more resources on how to start? And I love pointing people in the direction of like other shufflers that I know that do tutorials and have like YouTubes. And I also made a YouTube. So I'd like to like kind of continue on that. I've also taught 2 shuffle classes here, but you went to one of them, which was awesome.
No, that was an awesome class.
And I would love to do that more. It's just been really hard with lackage of a car and freedom, and time is just slipping through my fingers right now. It's just crazy how fast time is moving. But hopefully once I settle down, I'd love to do more instruction related things, whether that be take on students or do more classes or post more content online for just people to get more exposure to the community. I feel like it's never going to be one of those things where it's oversaturated, because I feel like the more the merrier in my head. I'm like, the more people that I can connect with, like on this level, is like just a total win, because you get to share, you have common experiences, feelings, and outlooks on certain aspects that only shufflers would have, you know? So I feel like building this community could be really valuable for the community itself, just like a
society. I mean, like society at
itself.
large.
And what's that, like a positive feedback loop?
Yeah.
Where it's like something good happens and then more good happens and then more good happens because that, you know, just like a snowball effect of good. Because I feel like as long as we keep spreading the message of like love and inclusivity and desire to share the same passion and movement, then we're doing our job of like sharing this with the world. So I feel like it's definitely not, if someone else can enjoy what I can enjoy through shuffling, I would love to provide that opportunity for them and like be able to like introduce them to this community, because I feel like it's so valuable for all the people that are in it and for people that are yet to be in it and people that look at us, and just I feel like we definitely have some sort of just
admiration about us.
Just like, we have like I love EDM community mindset of just plur and all having the same common shared goal, despite all of our differences, despite all of our backgrounds, all of our upbringings, to just enjoy the music and have a good time. And I feel like that's something that is really special, that like I feel very prevalent in the EDM community. Not saying that other communities don't have that, because I haven't been to a lot of other types of festival concerts, but I'm very happy to know that this one's at least here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, within, like, obviously the shuffle community is like a subset of the rave community in whole, of the EDM community in whole. Like, I mean, shuffling is, you know, we mostly do it to EDM music. Not to say that you can't do it to something else, but it just hits when you're doing it to the right music. And, you know, like it's a means in which we can express ourselves. It's a means of which like we can connect with others, you know, form social ties outside of social media or on social media. Like you were saying, like you see people on social media all the time, and then like you can draw, like you see them out on a festival as well, and you're like, I know you from here. You know what I mean? I have some familiarity with you. It's like we're not starting from
It's just
scratch.
like a little boost. It's a little like helper to get to be to that level to where you're like friends and mutuals. Like it's
you
just
have
like
relevance.
a little boost. Yeah, exactly.
Relevance and relatability.
You have context for whoever it is that you might recognize or whatever.
Yeah, and then like finally, I think I said the physical, I said the like the social ties, but also just like I think people need an outlet to express themselves, like whether that be you know, like you're a nerd and you just love talking about the things that you nerd out about. That's a way of expressing yourself. There's some people who just need it more tactily, like using your body to express yourself. There's so many different ways that people can do that, but often I feel like some people don't have that. They don't have that, or they haven't found it. And so shuffling is so cool and unique that it embodies like all three of those. It's like, you know, the social network. And I say that like not as like Instagram or whatever, but like literally a social network, like ties that you create with other human beings. Just like physically you feel good after you dance. Like shuffling is hit trading. Like let's not beat around the bush. You know what I mean? It's
That's
high,
so funny.
high
I just said
interval
that the other day. It's like hit training.
high intensity interval training. I mean, and usually it's from 30 seconds to 60 seconds of an exercise that you're doing it. What do you like? What is a shuffle run? It's about 30 to 60
with a little
seconds.
break in between.
Yeah, exactly. And then you catch your breath and you're doing it to the music. So it's like,
that's so funny. Yep.
And I think, I was reading about this, and I was actually talking to our friend Trent about this, because he's a personal trainer. And I think he was telling me like there's links to longevity with HIIT training. So it's like, we're probably going to live a little bit longer because we're doing this dance. You know what I mean? We picked the right dance to do. And then also that expression, like there's all sorts of like just like mental and physical benefits to being able to, you know, just do that, to be vulnerable with yourself in public, in private, you know, just allowing yourself to move your body however you like, I think does a lot of good things for our mentee, for our confidence, for just how we view ourselves, you know, as people. So to get back to your point, to be able to help people to find this, you know what I mean? Either find the dance, the community, or to like open them up to like the EDM community as well. Right. If they're not necessarily a dancer, but they want to be like kind of just like on the outskirts, that's cool too. To allow people to have a smooth transition into that, and to feel like the warm embrace around it, I think does everyone a lot of good. So if we're talking about a big picture, like society, you know what I mean? Because the same people who maybe it's a divert path, like maybe they found the community and they found like all this good stuff, or they keep going about their life and they're falling more and more into whatever that is not serving them. Right. And then like, you know, antisocial behaviors and not feeling connected with one another and being jaded and all these things that might hurt us as a society. They could just keep going like in that direction. But if they found all this, it might stop that, you know, in its tracks, and they have something else that, you know, they can put their energy into, you know what I mean?
I totally agree with that. Cause I feel like before I found shuffling, I was kind of in that, like I was like lost in that way where I didn't really know kind of like what my passion was. Like I did musical theater when I was younger. I did soccer, but I didn't really follow through with it. And then college started, and that was kind of all I really did. So I definitely resonate to the sense where it's like it could be exactly what you need when you don't even expect, because I didn't even know what shuffling was. Like it's not like I was born and I was like, I want to be a shuffler one day. Like it definitely took years to even discover what it was. And then not saying that shuffling is for everyone, because it might not be for if you don't vibe with house music, if you don't vibe with shuffling, if you don't, whatever your reason may be, like that is a-okay. But if there's people out there where shuffling is their thing, and if they're just waiting to be shown the opportunities that they didn't even know existed, like that would be like amazing to like bring in people that it's just what they needed and they didn't even know was out there, that just came into their lives at the right time. Because I feel like that's how it was for me. And of course, raising exposure and like doing things like this totally helps like get people on the same page of like even just knowing what shuffling is. So yeah, one step closer to kumbaya in the world.
But it's cool to be a facilitator for that, because like, yeah, you're on the other side. I feel like I'm on the other side. Like I've tapped into this, like part of local community, part of like a shuffling crew. Like I love it. Like I love all of this. And it's like to be able to show and help other people integrate into the same kind of lifestyle, if it's for them, you know what I mean? I totally understand everyone's different. Sometimes it's hard for me to understand fully, but like, I get it. I get it. We're not all cut from the same cloth. And like, I understand that, but for the ones who want to, you know, really integrate and tap in and immerse themselves, it's like, all right, I will be the guide. You know what I mean? I will be that person to help out however I can, you know, and I think you share that same sentiment from just based off of what you said. So, but it's been so great speaking with you. Thank you so much again for kind of like talking about these they're hard topics, like, cause they're not always discussed out in the open. Like you said, like one of the things that you touched on was like the highlight reel thing. And it's like, you know, even on the podcast, like, we're not just going to talk about like all the like rainbows and gumdrops that are constantly happening in the shuffle community. Like this is a little bit of like a shadow of the shuffle community. Just having this, like having people have unhealthy relationships with social media and how we connect with one another. So I really appreciate you shining light on all of this and being very instructional, and coming in with like really solid points. As to like what your experience was and kind of like the psychology behind it and why it's better to do it a different way and think in ways that will serve you versus disserve you. So thank you for doing that. Yeah. So we're going to move on to the last segment of the show. This is going to be the world famous Final Five. Final Five. And so these are 5 questions I ask all the shufflers that come onto the show. And it's so fun to be able to like see how they all are different. You know what I mean? Everyone's coming from like a very different, very different like background, whether it be their music taste or, you know, their preferences as to how they like to dance or where they like to dance, all that stuff. So the first question that I have for you is, what is your favorite musical genre?
Well, my favorite musical genre right now, because it's definitely changed throughout my life, is probably, you guessed it, house. Because I would say that's my favorite only because it's like my daily listen. Like I put it on when I'm cleaning my room. I put it on when I'm driving somewhere. Put it on when I'm like, if I'm trying to focus, I'll play classical lo-fi beats, but it's either that or house music. Like sometimes there's like melodic dubstep in there. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of alternatives like Young the Giant and Cage the Elephant. I like that's basically I like bass house specifically, as well as like piano house, like good vibes. And then I've been kind of getting into techno.
Let's go.
I really like, it's a party. It's just kind of like free caffeine is what I look at it like, because house music is that perfect BPM to like keep you going, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think it's like, it's just a natural driver for me, just music in general. And house music just has that good BPM to be like, let's go, let's do this. Let's, do whatever you got to do that day.
Groove to it and elevate the mood and all the things that, it's your scratch.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Next question for you. What is your favorite place to dance?
So I like Cheeseman a lot because it's a kind of a hub for flow arts. I gathered throughout my time here, there's like flow Sundays where people can like bring all their stuff and flow. And then there's another group, Vibrate Your Best Energy. They've been having a lot of events on Sundays as well. And then just the freedom for expression at that park, I feel like is kind of like all the societal dumb rules are kind of like lifted at that park. Cause like everyone is just kind of like does whatever they want to do. Like it's just like in the safe sense of like just expression, and you can find people throwing a football or having a picnic or juggling, skateboarding, doing whatever they think they like to do in their free time. It's just a place to go for your free time. And I appreciate that aspect of Cheeseman. And then I like to go on the top of parking garages if I can't make it downtown. Just because it's like usually a secluded flat space with a good view, sunshine, usually never cars at the top of parking garages. And flat space for dancing. Those are kind of like my 2 go-tos.
And usually it's smoother on the top from what I've found. I think it's because like the rain, I think the rain and the elements kind of hit it. And
they must put some sort of like outdoor resistant coating on top for the rain.
Yeah. So I definitely like the smooth. I need to go to more parking garages though, I think.
Yeah, you just look up parking garages, find the free ones, go to the top. There's so many everywhere.
Got it.
It's crazy.
I have to find one around here. Like I'm a little bit farther from downtown.
Yeah, I used to do it in Golden. There's like parking garages in Golden. The RTD parking garages are good. There's a lot of those. So just any.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cheeseman and parking garages. That's actually you're the second one who said parking garages. Brent, when Brent was on, he loves parking garages.
Yeah, no, it's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. No one's bothering you. You feel like there's security cameras usually everywhere, so you feel like safe in that way. At least I do. And no one's usually bothering you on the top floor. They're not like trying to get in and out of the wherever you like. It's like it's kind of hard to find like a good spot sometimes that doesn't interrupt other people. Like I don't like to like I just personally, I'm just too shy to be like one of those people that just like sets up downtown 16th Street, takes up a whole walking path. Like I just am not that kind of person. So I feel like that's a little bit of confidence there. So I like to be like out of the way, just doing my own thing, kind of.
Confidence, or I think you have a consideration as well. Like sometimes to get the best shot, you have to bother people, and it's like that's not always the vibe. So,
right. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, I've never been personally victimized by someone recording in the streets, and I'm walking by and been like, "What are you doing?" But I could see where people are like, "What are these people doing?" Like whatever. But
Got it. Well, no, that's very appropriate. I mean, we have to pay homage to Cheeseman for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the parking garage is definitely a vibe as well. So next, what has been your favorite set, show, or festival that you've attended?
So favorite festival, I have two answers. Favorite festival has been probably Base Canyon, because I went over this, that was a great size. I thought that the sets were great. The lineup was amazing. There's a little bit of house, a little bit of bass. I thought the people there were awesome. And then, as per usual, and then they had an all-around really great experience. I just felt like it wasn't overcrowded. There was like this 360 dome that was like, had visuals on the ceiling. So you'd like lay down on the grass and you'd look up at the ceiling of the dome, be like projected onto there. It's like a whole movie.
Was this on the hill, or where was it on the gorge?
Like when you first walk in. Okay. It's like to the left. Well, that's what it was when we were there. And that was probably just my favorite all-around festival for just the way that things went and my associated memories with it. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite set that I've ever been to is probably Knock 2, which is like, it was really kind of weird vibes because it was like mostly like high school, college boys that were like there. It was like a small warehouse set like in Denver. Mm-hmm. But Knock 2 is like personally my favorite DJ at the moment. He's been my favorite for a while just because I love the party vibe. Like just any song that comes up that's usually him, just like something in it just resonates with me in my little molecules because then I just start moving and for some reason. And yeah, so that was a really fun sex. He played just like all my favorite types of songs, even though the crowd was weird. But I like the music, so that's all I really went for anyways.
Yeah, you can kind of bubble yourself off and do your thing.
Yeah. They were all crowded towards the front, like jumping around the stage. I was like, I'm gonna be, it was like a 360. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna be in the back, but I love the music.
as shufflers are. Yeah. It's either the back or the side. Like we're not in the thick of it. Like we're trying to get down.
I agree.
Awesome. Next question for you, and I think you hinted at this earlier in the conversation. What is your favorite book?
So although I mentioned The Untethered Soul earlier in the conversation, I'd probably say my favorite book that I've read is called The Happiness Advantage. It's like supposed to be a book teaching you how to look at silver linings to make your overall life more successful and productive. And I really appreciate this book's mindset of just like every situation has pros and cons to it. It just depends on what part of the situation you choose to invest energy in and you choose to take away from it, rather than like always looking at things half glass full or looking at the downside or looking at
it's always a compromise
how it could have gone better, whatever. Exactly. And I think that book I've definitely taken a lot from, in the sense of like it just teaches you that not everything is black and white, like that everything is how you choose to look at it. And like I said, there's always a silver lining to a situation. And that it just really opened my eyes in the sense of like, and it kind of gives like tips. It's like 6 like chapters and tips of like how to kind of like tweak your mindset just to have a more happier life. Basically, it's called The Happiness Advantage, how to have like a more productive outlook, because it just really highlights like what you have to do in order to like not see everything for its worst.
Yeah.
So I really like that book. It's called The Happiness Advantage. Wish I could tell you who it's by. I don't know. In my head right now.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I can look it up.
I look up all the books on Google first because I always try and get like the free PDFs of them and put them in the show notes. But if not, I'll find like an Amazon link or something like that.
It's a good book. It's like, yeah, it talks about a bunch of studies too of like why some people are more successful in certain areas of their lives and what specifically they choose to go into in life. They can be more successful based off of certain statistics or mindsets, or they did a bunch of studies too. It's really interesting.
Yeah, the way that they're viewing the world, I'm sure. It seems like there's are you familiar with Stoicism at all?
That sounds so familiar.
It's like a lot of Greek philosophers and Roman philosophers. I hope I'm not butchering that. But Greek and Roman, they found a lot of just like philosophical ideas that helped with like not like being more in tune with things that you can control versus things that are out of your control. Being not viewing any situation as good or bad. It just is.
This is what I think. This is kind of what the book goes over. Yeah,
it just is, and like you get to decide. You fill in the blanks. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
So it's like it's wisdom that's been passed down for millennials and millenniums and millenniums. But it just sounds like it's riffing off of those same like ideas from like these philosophers that were alive thousands and thousands of years ago. So very cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Thank you for sharing that book. Both of those books, actually. I'll put both of them in the show notes.
Cool.
Last question that I have for you. So if you were to put any message on the main stage production of a large scale festival, let's think EDC Las Vegas, Coachella, it could be Tomorrowland. What would that message say? There would be tens of thousands of people viewing it.
I would probably put something like more like straightforward, like in short, probably like love yourself and your neighbor. Like we all need it, or something like that, or like just like respect yourself and your neighbor. We all need love. Something along those lines, just because I feel like you never know what someone else could be going through, or like what their day was like, or what their history is. And I feel like we've all been through it in some way, shape, or form in our lives. And so just to know that like we're all the same in that aspect of like we all have these trials and tribulations that we go through to build us to who we are today can like really help create empathy and a better relationship with people that are strangers. And I feel like just like, not to be cliche, but like love is so impactful, like so much more helpful. And it's like the answer. It just is like what helps us all realize that like we're sane and we're valid and we're doing good and just keep going. Cause like we're all on that exact same mindset of like, just keep going and we got this and we don't know what's next. But, you know, as long as you have that kind of like open mindset and that you just never know when someone's going to need love and when you need love, when someone might just give it to you. So, I think it's just important.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. I think it would be a very, a good message to show in that environment, you know, because sometimes I feel like festivals are a way for people to recalibrate themselves to the love that maybe they haven't been receiving in their normal life, or you know, the institutions that they're part of. You know, maybe they're in corporate America, maybe they're in a household that doesn't treat them the way that in accordance with the love that they want to give out to the world. You know what I mean? And then like having those reminders when we can kind of you know, detach from normal reality and go to these shows and be a part of like the EDM culture. It recalibrates us that there's people who, you know what I mean, want to see that for us and want to give their love, and that it gives you permission to give yours, and then it's a solid cycle from there. So
love that.
Thank you for sharing that. So this is pretty much the end of the episode. Thank you again for coming. I just want to ask you before we get out of here, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners before we really wrap up and say our farewells? Is there anything that maybe we didn't touch on that you'd like to bring up?
Honestly, nothing that's like life-changing message or anything, but I really do appreciate like everyone that's ever like interacted with me, or we've made friendships, we've made bonds, or they've just done something as simple as like my story, because it all like is really validating in the sense of like I feel like I'm making a difference to the world around me in my own way. We're not moving mountains, but we're making the impact that we can as individual people. And I just really appreciate like everyone that's helped me kind of get here where I am today, and just excited for what's yet to come, and really appreciate just all the whole shuffle community and people I haven't met yet that I know through online, and people that are yet to become shufflers, because we don't know. And I'm just very grateful to be in this realm.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think, people have that sentiment about you. You're kind of like on that other side, like someone who they met at a festival or met through the local community and things like that. So thank you for just expressing your thankfulness and gratitude for that. I know that this conversation has probably resonated with a lot of people. How can everyone connect with you, chat with you, talk about the episode with you? What's the best modality for that?
Yeah, I would love to we can talk about this later, but I would love to post a little snippet of this talk.
Yeah.
As a reel or something.
Sure.
And people can totally reach out to me on that page, Little Dot Stomps with a Z at the end.
Little Dot Stomps. On Instagram. On Instagram.
And I would love to talk with anyone that wants to have a conversation in that way. And if anyone wants to continue that conversation, I'm always happy to give out my number. I think my email is also in my Instagram bio.
Okay.
So whatever works, I check all of it.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Got it. Awesome. Well, this was a lot of fun. Yes. Thank you again for coming through and chatting with me.
Yes, I'm glad this finally happened.
Yeah, this is sick, dude. Yeah. I really do appreciate it. And just the knowledge that you dropped on us as well. It was still very personal to you, of course. It's part of your story, but it was an instructional moment, I think, for all of us. And you came prepared to just to describe that journey with us and what you got out of it and what you learned from it. So I think that can help a lot of people moving forward. And I really do thank you for that. So
thank you.
But I know you have a Cheeseman sesh that you need to get to at the moment. So we're going to cut it here. But just thanking you one last time for your time. Yes. Thank you, Brogan.
Well, thank you. Yes. Let's go.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Shuffle Curious podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. We are past the launch, and I'm so appreciative of the support that the show has received. You guys have really stepped up in a huge way, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I know this is a big ask due to the show just starting, and it's very much in its infancy, but any and all support would really be amazing from you guys. So I just wanted to come on and list a couple ways that you guys can help out the podcast moving forward. So first and foremost, subscribing to the YouTube channel would be a huge help. Among, also sharing and following the show on other social media platforms, such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but in particular, YouTube will really help increase the visibility of the show, and it can help to reach a wider audience as well. In addition to this, leaving a review on anywhere where podcasts are distributed, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, can really leave a positive impression on new listeners, and it will help them discover the podcast more readily.
Also, engaging with the podcast. So leaving comments, participating in social media discussions, and just anything that would really help build a community around the podcast would be of great assistance. And please feel free, DM me my personal Instagram at Patty Creates, or the show's Instagram at the Shuffle Curious Podcast, with the spaces being underscores. I would love to hear any feedback, any ideas, any discourse around the show. It would be an honor to hear you guys out and implement some of the ideas and the feedback that you guys have for me. Also, donating to the podcast directly or purchasing a Shuffle Curious shirt would help out a lot. There's a lot of time, there's a lot of energy, and unfortunately money that goes into the podcast, and it will continue to go into the podcast. So let's just get one thing straight here. It's really been a complete joy doing the show, and no matter how much or how little monetary assistance the show receives, we'll still be performing the mission of bringing the Shuffle community together. But with a little bit of help, I'll be able to travel more for these interviews, buy better equipment, be able to compensate all the amazing people who have made the show a reality and have volunteered their time, things of that nature. So buying a shirt would be much more than buying a shirt. And I don't know if you guys realize, but if I ever saw someone at a festival wearing a Shuffle Curious podcast shirt, you would be my best friend in a huge way. I'd love to see it, and I'd give you a big bear hug. So you can purchase these shirts on the Instagram bio of the show, also the show's website, and then I'll have links in the show notes as well. As for the donation, just please, send me a DM if you feel inclined to donate to the show. I will definitely entertain that, and if you're so inclined, that would be absolutely amazing. I'm not going to create a button for donating to the show or GoFundMe or anything like that. It would just be a conversation between you and I. So, and I thank you for that consideration. But lastly, you guys have supported the show just by listening. Also listening to this whole outro, that's awesome. You guys rule for doing that. And I just cannot understate my appreciation for all of you guys, for being a part of this crazy ride that it's been so far. So without further ado, I wanted to get on. I'll give you guys a couple of ways that you can support. You can run with as many or as little of them as you would like, but I thank you, regardless for your listenership and support. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. Please get out there and dance, stay curious, and I will see you in the next episode, friend.